Have you ever wondered if it's actually possible to be successful as a leader who leads with heart? I'm Carissa Karner, your host, and my guest today, Jim Hardwick, is going to share about how not only is it possible to be successful as a heart-centered leader, but when you embrace your servant's heart, you can take your business to new heights. Now, Jim is a leader who is passionate about serving others. He works as a fractional outsourced VP of sales. Now, Jim helps small to medium-sized businesses understand how to grow their sales revenue through a simple approach. And he has over 25 years of sales experience, sales leadership experience, including working with Fortune 500 companies. But that is just the beginning. Jim and his wife, Jody, they created a foundation where they lead a dental team to Kenya every year, and they work with the Maasai people. Access to dental care is very limited in this area. And with this program, this heartfelt program, they help people get out of dental pain. Absolutely amazing. And beginning next year, Jim is going to open a brand new program called Embracing Your Servant's Heart to Elevate Your Business. And he'll take business leaders on safari in Kenya to help them become more heart-centered in their leadership. So just sharing all of that, Jim, I mean, wow, I am so blown away at the impact that you're making in this world. And let me know, did I miss anything? Is there anything else you want to tell our listeners about who you are?
No, that was wonderful. Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be with you today. And I love sharing my story. So it'll be fun to get into this.
Absolutely. I am so excited for our listeners to get to know you and for them to hear about your perspective on heart-centered leadership and leading with a servant's heart. So I'm curious, as we get started, would you share with us about how you got here? What led you here?
I was in corporate America for 36 years, and I was blessed. I learned a lot. I was been a VP of sales for well over 25 of those years, and leadership was just something I've always done, and it was a wonderful experience. Corporate America is also very draining, very difficult, a lot of stress. In fact, I took a year off because of stress at one point in my life. I was passing out on airplanes. My hands were going numb. I was having heart issues in parking lots as I was going into meetings. It was all stress related. So I learned from that experience that regardless, it's just a job. And you got to put things in perspective. And I read a book about 10 years ago by Bob Buford called Halftime. And one of my managers at the time gave me this book, and it's what you do in the second half of your life to build a life of significance, to create a legacy. Because of the 20s, 30s, and 40s, you're raising families, kids going to college, all this. But as you get older, what are you going to do to make an impact? And so I was searching for the last 10 years to find that. Through COVID, I did a change from my career. I went from working in corporate to starting my own business, which is Aspire Sales. I'm an outsourced VP of sales. So I help organizations with pain. What I do in that business, I always give back. If somebody needs to talk to me, has a question about sales, I say, please call me. I'm here to help. And so I started having that truly serving mentality. And then, unbeknownst to us, in 2018, this is before, but in 2016, a friend of ours had come over to our house, and she'd just gone to Africa. She'd gone to Kenya, no less. And she was showing us her pictures. Her name's Suzanne. I've known her for 35 years. And she goes, oh, you got to go to Africa. This is amazing. Look at these animals. You got to go. And Jody and I are sitting there going, yeah, we had no desire to go to Africa. It was just kind of like, it's not on our bucket list. It just wasn't something we aspired to do. And so we kind of talked about that night and we tabled it. And about 2 years later, which is 2018, it came up and we could have an opportunity to go to Kenya. And we would go to this base camp, which is one of the top base camps in Kenya for safaris. And because of our connections, we could get a good price on it and all. So we decided we kind of looked at each other and said, okay, we'll go. We'll take pictures. It'll be a one and done. Let's do it. We went. And it takes 18, 22 hours to get to Africa. It's not something you just
Wow.
you hop on. And we've landed in Nairobi. You take a puddle jumper, then another plane into the Masai Mara where we go, which is about a 45-minute flight, 5-hour drive. And as you're coming on that plane and you're coming down onto the dirt runway, which is about a 16-seater plane, you're looking out the window and you're going, there's elephants, there's giraffe and zebras. And mind you, there's no fences. This is not a zoo. This is where these guys live. And for the first time, a kid from Indiana, you're just going, oh my word.
You're picking your jaw up off the floor.
It's incredible. And so you get the plane lands on the dirt runway. There's safari trucks, and the guides are all there. They're Masai Mara, which is the indigenous tribe that's been there for thousands of years. Were known as strong warriors back in the day. Now they're conservationists. They greet you in their colorful, bright yellow, reds, and oranges, and they've got the earrings and all the jewelry. And then up walks the tourist, who are clad in our Colombia outfit, right? We just been to Colombia. Jody and I spent, I don't know how many dollars at Colombia. And it's like, okay, you're definitely tourists. And so we started going on the safari. About 3 days later into this trip, because of our connections, we went to a school, and then we went to a medical clinic. And this medical clinic is a cinder block room. It's not that big, or cinder block building with 2 rooms in it. And so we went and looked inside it. And I've been in the healthcare industry for 30 years. So I understand all this pretty, I get a good feel for what healthcare is all about. They basically had 2 exam tables, a few chairs, and the chairs were lined with some Maasai women and their children. And you would never go into this type of clinic if it was built in the United States, but that's all they know. That's what they have. And they had a physician assistant there that runs the clinic. And he'll triage everything. It's amazing how much these guys can do with so little. Well, I come out of the clinic, and Derek, our guide, who's a mid-30 Maasai gentleman, he's the head guide. And we're standing there, and Jody's next to me. And I said, Derek, do they ever bring dental teams through this area? And the reason why that's relevant is because Jody's been a dental hygienist for 38 years. Jody is an amazing, I call her my dental earth angel, because people will actually leave the state of Arizona and move to another state, but they'll fly back to get their teeth cleaned by Jody.
Wow. You know what I find amazing too, as you're telling this story, is that you already, almost the moment you landed, that you're getting this tour, and already you're thinking about, like how can I give? What can I do here?
Yeah, well, that moment when I asked Derek, I said, do they ever bring dental teams? And he goes, no. And I said, is there a need? And he says, I've got a cavity right here. It's really painful. My mind immediately went, click. I'm bringing a dental team back. So Jody standing next to me, she knows how I'm starting to think. And she knows I've been striving to figure out what that passion project is going to be. So we didn't talk about it till we got back to the tent that night. And I said, and this is the key pivotal question. I said, Jody, would you like to come alongside me? Mm. And we bring a dental team back. If she says no, I'm out. I can't do dental work. I can do statistics, I can organize, I can lead. I can't. And she goes, no, let's do it. And one of the reasons why that was so important to me is because I've really become intentional on things I do. In the past, I would have had that thought, oh, I want to bring a dental team, then come back to the United States. 5 years go by, and you think, man, that would have been neat to bring a dental team.
Yeah. I remember you shared this with me when we talked the other day. You were sharing about how you just follow those thoughts these days. There's something different that happens now in your life where you have those thoughts and you follow them. And here's a great example of how following that thought can lead to something so powerful.
We only have so much time on this earth. Mm. We need to follow those thoughts. Mm. If you're driving down the road and all of a sudden I need to call Carissa, I haven't talked to her for 2 months. In the past, that I would let it just fly by. Now I pick up the phone, I either text or I call. Hey, how are you doing? What's going on? There's a reason why. Something in the earth, God, whatever your beliefs are, that's you. But there's a reason why that's in your mind. And 9.9 times out of 10, when you act on those feelings, you find out what the reasons for it. And it's powerful. Life's too short. So we had that discussion. We came back, and 10 months later, we took a team of 8. We had to take all our supplies. We took 600 different items. We took the mobile units, and we had to set up in a tent there. And our first time there, we saw 191 patients in 4 days.
Wow, what an impact.
And we didn't know what we didn't know. The interesting thing was, I was on a podcast about a year ago, and this guy does nonprofits. And he says, Jim, do you know that only 0.5% of nonprofits that people have these dreams and visions actually ever execute? And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't know that figure.
Well, here's the thing that I noticed too, is you had the thought, you followed the thought. You asked Jody, hey, are you down to do this with me? And she said, yes. And you didn't just have the thought and take one action. You had the thought that led to the next thing, and you followed through with that. And then the next thing, and you followed through with that. And you stayed the course. You stayed the course until you were there serving people who needed to get out of dental pain, and you helped them, you helped free them from pain. You went from thought to execution.
Yes. And right on. And I think part of it is we're both kind of driven people. We never had the question of, we can't do this. We just said we're going to do it. And I'm fortunate that I'm married to Jody for 38 years, that she is so organized, and she's so good. And dental is a career, not a job. As a dental hygienist, she's just amazing. And so we never. Now, were there times where we were in tears in each other's arms because of issues? But it was really funny. We balanced. One time she would be strong, I'd be strong. But it was, these people needed help. We had the ability to help. And let me give a quick story. So when we're there, a little boy who's 10 years old walks into our dental clinic. They don't have insurance. They don't even come with their parents. Can you imagine what it'd be like today if a 10-year-old little boy went to a dental clinic and then he comes home and tells his mom he had a tooth extracted? Oh my gosh, the lawsuits would be flying. These little guys, in the Maasai people in general, who are very strong and very brave and show no pain, they come, they honor us because they trust us. We're these people from America. Our skin is different from theirs. And they trust us sitting in the chair. And most of them have never seen a dental clinic. He comes, he walks in, his whole side of his face is swollen.
Oh,
You know, immediately it's all infected. If we don't treat that 10-year-old little boy might not see his 11th birthday.
wow.
Because that infection goes to his heart or brain. It's very, very, very serious. So we take him over, we sit down with him, we give the x-rays. We take a portable x-ray, with us, so the dentist can see exactly what tooth needs to be done, and we extract the tooth. And he shows no pain. No fear. He's not nervous. He's just strong 10-year-old little boy. No family, no mom. And he gets the work done. We extract the tooth. We start the healing process. We give him some antibiotics. That's why we do what we do. Because of that situation.
Oh, yeah.
And then lastly, and I'll wrap up the story, is we just went back. Our most recent trip was in February. That trip, we saw 261 patients and did close to 1,000 procedures. And a procedure is what you would bill to insurance in the United States. So 261. And Jody and I stayed 3 days after the team left, and we met with a bunch of different people. And 2 families have donated land for us to build a clinic. So our next project, which is going to take a lot of hard work, but to go out and raise the funds so we can build a clinic, because it's about sustainability. It's great to go down there for a year and offer free dental care, but we want it to be sustainable year over year over year. And that's our dream and our passions to build that clinic.
Wow. So when you follow your heart, when you listen to your heart, you act on what your heart is telling you, you follow your heart, this is the kind of impact that you can make on the world.
Absolutely. And people will say to me, well, Jim, Okay, that's cool. You go to Africa and serve. I can't go to Africa. And I try to pull them back and I say, that's not what it's about. Serving, giving back isn't going to Africa. Yeah, that's what we do. But I also serve here. Bring the garbage cans in for your elderly neighbors. That's serving. Lend an ear for somebody that needs to be heard. Mm. When you get that pull and that string that that person needs some money. I've got $20 and I feel led to give them that 20. You don't know why. You're not judging. You just feel led. Then act on it. You're serving. When you start serving like that and it's intentional, the rewards come back tenfold.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about this idea of leading with a servant's heart. That there's this one aspect that we're talking about now of listening to those impulses, those little voices inside, and acting on them, especially in service of other people. How else would you describe how to do that? How to lead with a servant's heart?
Well, from a business perspective, are you serving your employees? Are you serving your customers? Or in corporate America, it's about taking, it's about winning. When you flip that, the difference and the impact that makes is tremendous. It's about being vulnerable, building trust. For your employees, do you know what their goals and dreams are? Mm. Or do you come in as the leader of the business or the CEO? We've all seen these people, that everything evolves around you. Or are you showing them what it means to lead with a servant's heart? And I say this is part of the program I've written. How big is your willingness to listen? Is your willingness to listen to your customers, to your employees, to receive feedback and honor that feedback versus tell them that they don't have a clue what they're talking about? Because I know everything. Well, I hate to tell you, you don't know everything. With my business, as a sales consultant, I give away free advice all day long. Somebody calls me and wants to talk about, hey, I've got this sales problem, Jim. Let's talk. I don't have to monetize everything out of my mouth. And what I have found and what is so rewarding is I don't worry about where my next client's coming from. They just come. And it's not because it's a miracle. It's because my belief is I'm out there and I'm offering to lift people up. And in turn, people get that. It resonates with them. They then recommend me. They do referrals. They want to be associated with that same type of environment and feeling because it's infectious. Mm. And something that, here's the fun part. When you start doing that, the rewards come back to you tenfold. And people say, well, you need to be humble. Oh, believe me, I'm not doing this for glory or gratitude. We don't go to Kenya, travel 2,200 miles, raise money all year, have a house full of dental supplies, a master bedroom full of dental supplies. And if you can imagine how romantic that is, dental supplies in your master bedroom. We don't do that for accolades. We do that because we're driven and we're called. It's the same thing at work. Mm-hmm. People can feel where your heart is. You know when you've come, and it's about trusting. How do you build that trust? When you go to a guy that's selling you something, and he's Slick Willie, you don't trust him at all. Yeah. You go to that same person, a different person that, let's say Jennifer's over here, and she builds that trust quickly. Guess what? From a business perspective, you'll pay more for Jennifer's services than you will for Willie's because you trust Jennifer.
Absolutely.
How simple is that? Mm-hmm. But go ahead.
Well, I hear you say listening. This is so fascinating to me because this is something that's been coming up on the podcast a lot, is building relationships and listening. And I hear you talking about listening inside, listening to that little voice, those little sparks that say, hey, do this. Hey, call this person. Hey, take the trash cans in for Norma next door. And also listening on the outside, listening to your employees, if you have employees, really hearing what they need, what their dreams are, listening to your customers, hearing what do they need? How can I be of service? How can I help? Listening to new prospects who come to you. That so much about leading with a servant's heart is about listening.
Listening is a lost art.
Huh.
It's um, I read another book, and it's about active listening. Typically, when people talk, there's four conversations going on. There's you and me, and then the other conversation is me thinking about the next question I'm going to ask, so I can ask it before you're done with your thing, and you're thinking about it. If get rid of that extra conversation, smooth into or go into that conversation, so you're active listening, so you understand where it is. And I'm going to do it from a sales perspective. People always say, like, I'll have business owners, right? And they have a great business. They'll say, "Oh, I'm not a salesperson." "Oh, really?" I said, "Do you believe in your product or service?" "Oh, yeah." "Do you have a story to tell?" "Oh, yes." "You're the best salesperson in the company." You don't have to sell anything if you're passionate about it, if you're willing to solve problems. All you have to do is discover what the customer needs, what their pain points are. And then when they ask, then you tell them how you can provide and take that pain away from it. It's the easiest thing in the world. People think of salespeople as used car salesmen, not anymore, but back in the day it was cell phone people, those pushy people. That's not what sales is in today's world. It's about trust, it's about listening, and it's about discovery. And when you do those things, to me, those are acts of service. I have a service or product that you need, Mr. Customer. If you're currently in a job where you don't believe in the service or product, why are you in that job?
Absolutely.
I don't care how good the money is. You're miserable because you're lying every day to your customers. But when you're in a job that you're offering, that you have a product or service you believe in, it doesn't really feel like a job because you know you're helping.
Yes, I love how you laid that out too, that when you're with a potential customer or client and you lean back, you're present and you listen, you allow them space to tell you why they're even talking to you in the first place. Then it's an act of service to say, "Hey, I have something that can help."
Yeah.
As opposed to, "Okay, here I am on the call with you, and I just want to force my product and service on you because I want to make some money."
And let me throw up a PowerPoint, and then I can show you what our building looks like. Really? Who cares what your building looks like and how many certificates you have and how great you are? They don't care. The customer doesn't care, right? If the customer doesn't care, the customer wants to know, how can you help me? How can you bring value? And here's where we get confused. What's that value? That value is what's important to that customer. That value is, if you have a product and service that can help him, he might not get fired next quarter. His value is not getting fired. It's not about growing revenue. At that time and place, he's trying to save his job. You need to discover what the true value is. What we think our value is for our product is immaterial. It's what the customer perceives the value to be. That's where you have to get to the root of. Once you get that, you create a partnership and a relationship, and you have your business. If it's a service, you'll never lose it.
And you can only get there by listening.
Yeah.
You cannot get that information any other way unless you lean back, you embrace your servant's heart, and you listen.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Absolutely.
Years ago, I was a sales manager, and I was with my rep, and we went into the University of Washington purchasing department up in Seattle. Now, I'm calling on this guy that's 60 years old. He has seen every salesperson that you can imagine walk through his building, his door. And we sit there, and I just start asking him questions, about what's going on, what his needs were, blah, blah, blah. And about 10, 15 minutes in, and I never talked about we introduced ourselves, but our company or anything. I just started asking questions and listening. 15 minutes in the conversation, he goes, "Why is it that I trust you so much?" And at the time, I just kind of went, we kind of laughed, but as I reflected on that, especially as I've gotten older, the reason why he said that was I never once came in and said, "Look what we can do. We can change your world. Look at all our products. Look at this. You need to buy from us because we're great." No, I was there to ask him what his needs were. what he was looking at, to build the relationship that then would give me the green light to go to the next step. And that next step to talk about who we were could be the next meeting, 2 meetings later. But to go in and just tell him how great we are doesn't do anything. And it's that trust building that is so important when it comes to sales and in life in general. It's a crazy world out there right now. And I would say, because I travel a lot around the world, 99% of the people that we meet, no matter what country, what continent, are unbelievable, wonderful people. We hear so much negative in the news, but people have good hearts. They all just want the same thing. They want to have a roof over their heads. They want food. Most of them want education. They just want to live life. In all this minutia, because it's all on social media and stuff, we get all caught up in that. If we step back and realize that as a whole, as a human race, I'm getting really philosophical here, we all want the same thing. Mm-hmm. So if you have a chance to get past that layer that people put up and can build that trust with them, that helps you in relationships, it helps you in business, it helps you at school. It does so many things to enhance your position in those situations.
Yes. So I hear you saying too, I think that embracing that servant's heart is also about connecting to the humanity, the human essence of another person, really seeing under all the other stuff and knowing underneath it all, we're just two souls here together.
That's exactly right. And you know what? Everything I'm talking about isn't anything new. There's books written on this. It's nothing new. I think what happens is people aren't intentional with it because life takes over and we get so busy. My charter is to try to just give that alarm clock or whatever, shake people a little bit and say, man, I could do that also. Let me try that. I say, if you look every day when you wake up to be intentional on a way you can serve or give back, if you try that, I guarantee your life a week after that happens and you do it every day, it will change. Open the door for somebody. Grab the groceries. The lady that's got kids in the truck, in her SUV, she's loaded with groceries and a huge water thing. They buy 18 things of water. They have a 100-pound bag of dog food. Go over and lift that in their car for them. Wow. And then, walk away and just say, have a good day.
Yeah.
She'll what?
Yeah.
And it's those little things. We forget to take care of each other. And when you do that and you're intentional, your world will change. I promise.
Your world will change. And this brings me to one point I want to ask you about before we get to the end here today, which is it also feels different inside, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you were talking about how painful it was in your corporate job. And I got the sense when you were talking about that time, you weren't as connected to your heart in those days. And now something is different. And coming from this place of service, it creates a different way of being in the world for you. It feels better. It feels different. I'd love to hear what that difference feels like for you.
Well, the difference is in corporate America, I've said this before, and so many people can relate. On Sunday evening, the Sunday blues, because they hit around 4 or 5, and Jody would say, yep, she could just see it coming. Your stomach gets in knots, you get antsy, and you're miserable most Sunday evening because Monday you got to wake up and go back into the firestorm. And that is so true for so many people. As I've shared that story, when I speak, people will go, oh yeah. Even teachers. My daughter-in-law is a kindergarten teacher, and she used to be. And she goes, oh, teachers get the same thing. Okay, let me flip that now. Now I can't wait to get up in the morning. I love what I'm doing. I'm passionate about it. I love thinking about how can I help in my consulting business, how can I help raise businesses up? We continually are working on our Kenya program. People call me and ask for free advice. I'm inspired by that. And that inspiration keeps me going and keeps it alive. And when I go to sleep at night, I lay down thinking, I made a difference in somebody's life today. And, I don't say, oh, Jim, you're so great. But I just go, I kind of smile inwardly and go, thank you. It's rewarding for me to be able to give back because I spent a lot of my years taking, and I refuse to do that nowadays. It's just not worth it. It's not fun. It's a lot more fun to give and to serve. As a kid, your parents always said at Christmas, it's a lot better to give than it is to receive. And you're always like, yeah, right. I want my Hot Wheel set. But but as you get older and you realize you start having perspective on life, things change. And let me preface this. Jody and I always gave. We gave to charities. We did volunteer work. We were involved with our church. So it's that was always there. And we did it because we felt like we were obligated, because we felt we needed to. But the last few years, my whole serving has just flipped. And it's 100% now. It's everything that I live for and the way I like to live. But lastly, if you're a leader and with a servant's heart, that doesn't mean that you're not strong, that you don't hold people accountable, that you don't let people go that aren't doing their job. You have a responsibility to your own company and to your employees and your customers to still be that strong leader. Mm-hmm. Just because you're giving and serving doesn't mean you lose that strength of who you are. And yes. I want to make that a point, because some people say, well, then I've just got to be, no, you still got to do the right things.
That's right. Coming from the heart doesn't mean no boundaries, because being heart-led also means having strong boundaries, because that's how you are taking care of the organization and the people in it and your customers and yourself.
It's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, I could go on with stories for 4 hours about different stuff and on serving, how people start seeing things differently and things change. And nothing inspires me more is when I got clients and when I first started with them, they were here and they were overwhelmed, they were frustrated, they were limping along. And then after I'm able to work with them, the momentum, the energy, and how they start getting back on the saddle, because they had that passion 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they've lost it. And when I come in, I let them see through my eyes what a great business they've built. How many families are you feeding? What impact have you had on your community? Look at this. I want you to call your top 5 customers and thank them for the business and ask them for a recommendation and see what they say. And when they do that, I'll see them a few days later and like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. They've lost that they've lost why they're in business, because they're just surviving. And when you can flip it back and they reignite that passion, their business just soars. And it's really inspiring for me to get on calls in with them. And all we're talking about is the next thing we're going to do, and not just surviving, but it's what we're doing next. And then we're going to hire this person, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to have this program. And the sales just keep going in the right direction. That's what's fun.
And it's so cool, Jim, this idea that, when somebody works with you or when somebody learns on their own how to start embracing their servant's heart, that it's like their aliveness comes back. It opens things up. And not only when you do that, not only are you serving the people that you're around and you work with, but you are, the icing on the cake is you're serving yourself without that being your leading intention. But it serves you as well to feel so much more joy, to be excited to wake up in the morning, to enjoy being with your clients or customers, to enjoy the relationships with your employees. It's like night and day in the way that it shifts the way of being in the world.
And the sad part is, some people think it's not possible. We can't do that, or it doesn't work. And I like to say, just try it. If it's not working what you're doing now, what's it going to hurt if you try it and it starts working? Oh my word!
Yes.
It's don't tell me no before you ever gave it a try. And then tell me yes when you do try it and you see what happens. And then you call me and you say, oh my gosh, this is a lot of fun.
So on that note, if somebody does want to work with you or they want to find out more about your foundation, what's the best way to connect with you?
Yes, through, I'll give my phone number here just because pick up the phone and call, which is a rare thing. People don't ever answer their phones, but 623-451-1080. You can also see our, what we do in Kenya. It's hardwickfoundation.org. And we just have our new video up there that we just posted from our trip in February. And we got the whole pictures of the gallery. So you'll get a feel for what I'm talking about. And then J Hardwick at salesacceleration.com, which is with an X and not an E for acceleration, SALESXCELERATION. Nobody's going to get that, but sales acceleration.
We'll put it in the show notes. All this will be in the show notes. So if you're listening and you need this information, just check out the show notes.
Yeah. And, as I said, if you want to learn more about Africa, if you want to learn more about sales, love to connect. And if you have a sales problem, it's free advice. I'm here. Call me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you can just pick up the phone and call Jim. You can find his foundation. You can email him. You can also find him on LinkedIn as well. And boy, what an incredible conversation this has been. I know that our listeners are going to take so much away from this and hopefully percolate on this idea that being heart-centered can make an impact on the world and make a huge impact on your own life.
Yes. Just give it a try. Try it.
Yes, just give it a try. Thank you, Jim, so much for being here today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I am honored and humbled that you invited me on today. And thank you for letting me share my story. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.